lazy to 99. I am a Batman fan, and I'm a Canadian man. I do top 10 lists, and I ketchup chips.
This is going to be probably one of the hardest things I have ever had to say. I was wrong. I thought the last thing the world needed was another Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I thought there was no way in heck it was going to be good. There's no way in heck they were going to try to make an interesting movie. All they were going to try to do was to make something that would make money. And yet, I was pleasantly surprised. Maybe it's just because I wasn't expecting anything of the movie when I saw it. But coming out of Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, I felt that I really enjoyed the film. So, let's just go into the basic story. The basic story of Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides is that Jack Sparrow is in search for the Fountain of Youth. And he's kind of given up the search, and he kind of knows where it is, but he doesn't know the rituals or anything. And through a lot of bizarre events that I don't really want to get into, he ends up on the Queen Anne's Revenge, the ship of Blackbeard. Blackbeard is the villain of the film who is in search for the Fountain of Youth because his death has been foretold to him. So, Jack is on the ship with Blackbeard, while Tibbs...
Sorry I said Tibbs, I meant Gibbs.
His first mate, and one of the only recurring characters of the crew, is with Barbossa, who is now one of the king's captains, whatever. So Tibbs are with Barbossa, because Tibbs read the map to where the island of the Fountain of Youth is. So Tibbs was with, but he burned it. So Tibbs is with Barbossa, and Barbossa is after Blackbeard, and there's this girl played by Penelope Cruz, who isn't really that interesting, but yeah, it's the basic story is they're trying to get to the Fountain of Youth, and everyone's chasing everyone. Now, for the bare bones, the Pirates of the Caribbean has never been an amazing series. None of them. The first Pirates of the Caribbean was a good movie. It was a great movie. I loved it, but it wasn't an immensely humongous storytelling movie. It didn't get too deep, and I think it forgot that in the next two movies. It tried to say, oh, we're epic. We are an epic movie. I still enjoy the other two movies, but I think they forgot that the movie itself of Pirates of the Caribbean was a fun, entertaining B flick. You know, it wasn't the main event. It was a B movie. It was a popcorn flick, if you will. An entertaining ride that leaves you satisfied by the end of the film. When the others tried to get into, we are an epic story, and lost a little bit because of that. But here it's kind of back on track. It's not as good as the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. However, I would have to say it's probably my second favorite. I might like the third one more, but that's just because my favorite character, Pirates of the Caribbean, is Will. So, you know, since he's not in here. So I'll just start with some of the characters. So Johnny Depp is back as Captain Jack Sparrow, and I like him in here maybe more than I ever have. Because, like, in the other two films, on Dead Man's Chest and on At World's End, they kind of bogged down too much of, oh, he's a pirate, so he's going to betray everyone. He's a pirate, so he stabs people in the back. Is what he does. Savvy. But in here he's back where, sure, he's a pirate, but he's not like the world's most evil pirate. He's just he maybe he does stab people in the back, but they're usually people that he doesn't like. For his friends, he's usually loyal enough that he'll be with them. Where in the other two films, he usually keeps on like even though Will saved his life many times, he's just like, oh, screw you. Jeffrey Rush returns as Barbossa, and Barbossa in this, one of the weird things about it is they made, okay, so basically the Black Pearl has been taken by the Queen Anne's Revenge Blackbeard ship, and this was one of the interesting and cool parts of the movie. Blackbeard has, every ship he kind of defeats, he imprisons magically in these bottles. You know those ships in a bottle? And it's really cool to see the Black Pearl stuck in there, and that was, I thought, was a really interesting part of the film. As I said, though, when it comes to Pirates of the Caribbean, when you get right down to it, they're just a fun popcorn flick, a fun summer movie. They're not supposed to be anything deep, and in here we have Johnny Depp as hilarious again as Captain Jack Sparrow. We have Jeffrey Rush as Barbossa, and he's pretty funny in here too. But, the one thing I kind of did have a problem with, it was Barbossa and Jack Sparrow get along too well. I mean, they get along, they kind of have a little bit of, oh, you betrayed me and mutiny and took my ship. You killed me and you left me for dead. But after one scene where they're kind of drawing their swords at each other, the rest are just like, yeah, good buddy mate, Jack. Yes, we're really good friends. Sorry. Of course, I didn't say they were friends or anything, but they didn't really feel like they really hated each other. Where that was one of the great things I liked about the first movie, where you could tell that Johnny Depp's that Jack Sparrow hated Barbossa, and in here he doesn't really hate him, and they're kind of okay hanging out with each other. But still, that's not a huge problem. Penelope Cruz is in this film. That's all I really have to say about her. She's in it. She doesn't really add anything to it that much. She has some funny scenes. She doesn't take anything away from the movie. It's her role isn't that interesting, so I don't think another actress really could have added or taken away anything from it. It's just, she's just the role. She's the typical girl who loved Jack Sparrow before we met him, and blah-de-da-de-da. So some of you might be surprised that I actually like this film, since I really didn't want to see it to begin with. But I came and I watched it and I was entertained. A lot of the stuff they have is a little bit of a stretch. Like, the ingredients for getting the Fountain of Youth, the secret of the Fountain of Youth would be, okay, so you need 2 silver cups from this certain place, and you need a tear of a mermaid. Then one person drinks the cup with the tear, and the other drinks it without the tear, and the person with the tear gets all the years from the other person. I don't know, it sounds a little contrived for the plot. It's just, okay, I want this scenario here. I want this scenario where Jack does this to these 2 characters, and yeah, so but they just connect the dots in between so they can get to that certain scenario where it doesn't feel like it's genuine. It doesn't feel like they fleshed it out and it happened organically. It feels like it was just, they set up the scenario and they just connected the dots to get to that scenario. I guess the thing that I liked about this is the other Pirates movies kind of got bogged down when they felt that they had to bring characters from the first film to the other film, and they just spent a little too much time. Like the other 2 pirates that were on the Black Pearl in the original film that were a bit of a comic relief character, they were brought into the second and third film, and you felt like, well, why are they there? And then, certain characters, the certain side characters they brought along, even though they didn't need to be there, and then they had to do the in-jokes, and they got bogged down in in-jokes, and they couldn't focus on telling the story. Here, they don't have that many recurring characters. There's Barbossa, Jack, and Tibbs.
Gibbs, darn you, it's Gibbs!
Those are the only recurring characters. Unless you count the monkey and the parrot who's in the bottle with the ship. But besides that, they're the only recurring character. Well, I guess that guy who plays Keith Richards, is it? I'm pretty sure the name's Keith Richards. If I'm wrong, well, I'm wrong. But, the guy who plays Jack Sparrow's father, the person who plays Jack Sparrow's father, he makes a brief cameo in here, just like seconds. But yeah. Anyway, there's another character in here, a guy that he's a Christian, and I actually really like that. Being a Christian myself, I like how they just made him a character. You don't see that many Christian characters in a movie, and if there are, they're usually people that are mocking Christianity. Here, this was a good Christian character, through and through. I don't really like how his story, part of the story, ended. That seemed a little cliched, but the mermaid scene, I thought, it's gonna be just a scene where, look, they're nice and pretty, and oh no, they're a little terrifying, woo! But no, there's an actual kind of mermaid fight sequence, and it was kind of cool. It was pretty cool. I must admit, it was, I won't say it was terrifying. It wasn't like I was like, in my seat, like, oh my gosh! But, yeah, it was pretty interesting. I must say they kept me entertained and interested in that. Blackbeard, he serves his purpose. He's not an immensely menacing villain. He's an immensely powerful villain. So you sense the threat because he's very powerful. But it's not like you're like, oh my gosh, it's Blackbeard. I mean, you felt more of a threat from Barbossa, but I'm not sure. I think I might like Blackbeard more than Davy Jones. I don't know, because I don't know. Maybe it's just because he's not a stinking squid, but I think I probably did like Blackbeard more than Davy Jones. So you might ask, well, what do you give this Pirates of the Caribbean movie? You might ask. Well, it's kind of hard. It's not incredibly deep or real story driven, but it is really entertaining. There are some great fight scenes. There's not a big ship battle, which I missed. Pirates of the Caribbean usually have at least one ship-to-ship battle, which those are usually pretty interesting, but they didn't have any of those. So I was a little disappointed in that. The sword fights are good, but they're not as memorable as a lot of the others. So I guess I have to give Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides 6.5 out of 10. So thanks for watching, guys. Remember, I'm LaserDude99, and if I don't like it, it's not worth it. See you around.
Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.